Every Christian who desires to walk in God's calling must first come to terms with a vital truth. Before God will do great work through you, He will do great work in you. We often dream of changing the world, preaching to nations, healing the broken, and carrying the gospel to the ends of the earth. But before God entrusts us with such influence, He desires to shape our hearts, refine our character, and mold us into vessels that can carry His glory without breaking. God is less concerned with our outward success and more concerned with our inward transformation, because true ministry begins with what happens inside of us. Think of Moses. Before he could lead Israel out of Egypt, he spent 40 years in the wilderness tending sheep. God was preparing him in obscurity for the great assignment ahead. Moses needed to be humbled, trained, and stripped of self-reliance so that when he stood before Pharaoh, he would not boast in his own strength but depend entirely on God's power. This same principle applies to us today. We may feel hidden, overlooked, or delayed, but in reality, God is working in the secret places to prepare us for something greater than we can imagine. Transformation is never easy. It requires surrender. God does not simply polish the surface of our lives. He digs deep into the roots of our hearts. He exposes our pride, fear, bitterness, and unbelief so that He can replace them with humility, faith, love, and endurance. This process may feel painful, but it is always purposeful. The fire of refinement is not to destroy us, but to make us stronger, just as gold is purified in the furnace. When we yield to God's inner work, we are being fashioned into instruments fit for His kingdom use. Many of us want to skip the preparation stage. We want the platform without the pruning, the victory without the discipline, the crown without the cross. But God's way is different. He knows that without deep roots, a tree cannot stand strong when storms come. In the same way, if our hearts are not grounded in Him, the pressures of ministry, success, and trials can crush us. That is why God works in us before He works through us, because the foundation must be laid before the building rises. Look at Joseph's life. God gave him dreams of greatness, of leading and influencing nations. Yet before those dreams came true, Joseph endured betrayal, slavery, false accusations, and prison. It seemed like everything was falling apart, but in reality, God was shaping Joseph's character, teaching him integrity, patience, and wisdom. By the time Joseph stood before Pharaoh and governed Egypt, he was no longer the boastful teenager who flaunted his dreams, but a humble servant who understood that all power and glory belonged to God. His story reminds us that delay is not denial, it is often preparation. We must also recognize that God's inner work is ongoing. It is not a one-time event, but a lifelong process. The Apostle Paul, even after decades of ministry, declared, "Not that I have already attained or am already perfected, but I press on." Philippians 3:12. God is continually shaping us, stretching us, and molding us into the image of Christ. The moment we stop growing inwardly is the moment our effectiveness outwardly begins to fade. If we desire to remain vessels of honor, we must continually allow God to purify, prune, and guide us. So how can we cooperate with God's inner work? First, through surrender, we must let go of our own agenda and allow His will to take precedence. Jesus Himself modeled this in Gethsemane when He prayed, "Not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. True greatness in the kingdom begins with submission to the Father. Second, through faithfulness in small things. Often God tests us in private before He promotes us in public. If we can be trusted with little, He will entrust us with much. Third, through intimacy with Him. Spending time in prayer, worship, and the Word is not optional. It is the very soil in which God transforms our hearts. Another key truth is that God uses trials as tools of transformation. We may ask, "Lord, why am I going through this hardship?" The answer may be that He is shaping something in us that we could not learn in comfort. Patience is built in waiting, compassion is developed through pain, and faith grows strongest in storms. Our struggles are not wasted, they are divine classrooms where God equips us for greater impact. This perspective shifts how we view seasons of waiting and testing. Instead of complaining, we can embrace them as part of God's preparation. Instead of doubting His goodness, we can trust His timing. Just as clay must remain pliable in the hands of the potter, we must remain yielded in the hands of God. If we resist, we delay the process, but if we submit, we accelerate His work in us. Beloved, remember that God is more concerned with who you are becoming than with what you are doing. Titles, positions, and achievements may impress people, but God looks at the heart. When He sees Christ formed in us, then He knows we are ready for greater assignments. Until then, every hidden season, every unseen prayer, every private act of obedience is shaping us for His glory. So if you find yourself in a season where it feels like nothing is happening, be encouraged. God is not wasting your time. He is investing in your transformation. He is preparing you to carry His presence, His power, and His purpose. The waiting room is not punishment, it is preparation. When the time is right, God will open the door, and you will walk into the calling He designed for you, not in your own strength, but in His. Before God will do great work through you, He will do great work in you. Trust His process, embrace His shaping, and remain faithful. The greatness He births within will one day overflow into greatness around you. And when that happens, the world will see not just your abilities, but the unmistakable hand of God working through your life.